Good evening. Today I will be discussing the importance of making sure that our students are allowing themselves to be pushed and motivated in their academic journey. First, I will be diving into the do's and don'ts with test taking or test writing. Do's. Read directions carefully and reread if necessary. Manage time wisely by answering the easiest questions first. Review answers before submitting if time allows. When writing tests, make sure questions align with objectives and are clearly worded. That is super important when writing a test. The questions need to be clearly written out so that there's not any confusion within the students. The don'ts. Don't overthink multiple choice questions. Sometimes the simplest answer is correct. Don't rush through without checking for skipped questions. When creating tests, don't use trick questions or vague wording that confuses more than assesses. In one of my college courses, the professor used scenario-based questions instead of just relying on memorization. For example, instead of asking, "What is the definition of reliability?" the test asked me to analyze a situation and determine whether the test described was reliable. This approach is fair because it reflects on real-world applications, and it also boosts confidence in understanding material, not just by memorizing. A scenario-based question presents a hypothetical workplace situation to assess a candidate's problem-solving skills, decision-making abilities, and cultural fit by asking how they would handle the challenges. Impact. It showed that good assessments measure applied knowledge and not just by memorization. Negative testing experience. The cons of test taking is the answer choices sometimes are very similar yet not the same, causing confusion for test takers. This can hurt students because one word that they miss and they will be docked for not picking the correct answer. Poorly worded multiple choice items are nearly identical, causing confusion for students. For example, A. The main purpose of formative assessment is to guide instruction. Or B. The main purpose of formative assessment is to adjust teaching. Both were technically correct, but the instructor only accepted one. So in these two questions, there was only two words. It was guide and adjust. So simple things like that can influence how a test taker can stress or become overwhelmed with not knowing what the answer is. But in reality, it's usually just the simple answer that is the correct one. So ensuring validity, reliability, and rigor. Validity. Align every question with a specific learning objective. Reliability. Use consistent formats, clear rubrics, analysis, synthesis. Rigor. Include higher order thinking questions. Balance. Mix question types, multiple choice, short answers, and scenario-based items to fairly measure the different levels of learning. Lastly, it's important to make sure that the students are always working towards their fullest potential. And by doing so, students should be pushed and should be productive struggling through any and all problems they might have in our organization. Thank you.